Welcome to the S.A.M experience. Today, the gang, Sam, AJ, and Max will be discussing the real-life Hunger Games, the gamers' origins, a prelude to the Caveman, and Big Spoiler City. Sit back, relax, and grab that bus ticket because you're riding straight to the Big Spoiler City. Welcome back to the S.A.M experience. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I'm here with my lovely co-hosts, AJ, Sam, and my name is Max. And I recently had a long conversation with our manager. His name is 3 Short Slim. We met him off the streets. Great guy. But he told me I needed to apologize for some statements I made in the last episode about gamers. I do not believe in gamer hate, and I am sorry for the slander I put in last episode that still hasn't actually premiered yet of the time of this recording. We actually all met through video games, so I figured that would be a good place for us to start today, and maybe the gamers will lay off my case a little bit. So AJ, Sam, I know you guys met off of a famous game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Attack of the Clone Wars. Is that correct?
Not exactly. But the concept is there. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to have Sam fill in some of the blanks for this story. But to make a long story short, right? Back in the day, you had this game. It was called Halo 3. Some of you may remember it. Some of you may not.
That's the one with John Halo, right?
It's the one with John Halo. The big green guy kind of looks like Shrek.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, well,
The sidekick was Arby's, right?
Yes, it was John Halo and Arby's.
Okay.
Anyway, so the basic outline of how this story went down is that I got an Xbox 360. I swindled my parents into getting me Xbox Live, which allowed you to play online. This was the first time I ever had access to this, right? It was a whole new thing back in the day. I guess not new, but it was new to me. But it was a big deal, right? Halo 3 online was like hot shit. And I played a little bit with like people from my high school and stuff, and that was a good time. But I wanted more. I needed more, right? I needed to go deeper. I needed to connect, reach out to the world. So I put a little feeler out into the official Halo 3 forums, and I'm gonna leave it off here at Sam because this is where Sam sort of was existing at the time.
All right. So now, a couple things y'all gotta understand about Halo 3, and really Xbox Live at the time. Now, at the time, for you young ones out there, Xbox Live didn't have party chat, right? Like, if you wanted to communicate with more than one, you had private chat, so you could directly communicate with one person in a private chat at a time, but over voice. However, if you wanted to communicate with more than one person at a time, you were out of luck, unless you were in an in-game lobby, right? So the big thing was Halo 3 or like Call of Duty, dude. If you were playing Xbox Live at the time as a young buck back then, you had to own one of those games so you could talk to all your friends. But back to what AJ was talking about with the online thing, right? So Bungie.net forums. You could, hey, really Bungie as a company, they're the guys who made Halo, right? Bungie as a company was big on community engagement.
Huge.
And as I just said, if you wanted to talk to a whole lot of people at the time, you had to own Halo, you had to own like Call of Duty in order to get into these lobbies. So communities were already like forming around these games just as a natural course of things.
Because there was no party chat and there was no Discord. There was none of that.
Yeah.
It was all you had to be physically playing the same game as people and in the same party with them.
And of course, at the time, it also wasn't as easy to like. And nowadays you got all sorts of like tablets and smartphones and all that. And we had those things back then too, but they weren't nearly as ubiquitous, not nearly as accessible as they are now.
Not developed.
The chat apps do. The technology just wasn't there yet, right?
Exactly. No, it's the truth.
So uh, there was a big community engagement coming from Bungie, and the player base really responded to that. So what we would do, they had the Bungie.net forums, and you would go on, you would post all about Halo, and all, dude, everybody was on the Bungie.net forums, right? And you could make these little private groups where you could have just people. It was like little private sub forums on the sub or on the website that only people you invited into your group could join. And so like that's what the clans would do, that's what other groups would do, and you would have groups with just tens of thousands of members. Everybody wanted to be a part of a big group or make their own group, right? And so AJ had
That's
made
me.
a group,
I did make a group.
and his group was growing fairly strong, and I was part of a group. I was like I don't know, like a little sub commander or something for whatever my group was. I forget how that group came about. And somehow we met on the forums and proposed a group merger.
Yeah, the
Whoa.
the details are a bit hazy. I wish I remembered the exact moment, that everything kind of came together, but I don't. But yeah, the basic concept was that I had this group, and I think I also noticed that Sam was like a big time poster in the community. Oh, he
Dude, Sam
laughs.
is a poster.
He laughs. He's laughing, but he knows it's true.
No comment
Um,
there.
Sam Sam was out there just like speaking his mind.
Look, I'm big on
Anyway,
community engagement, all right? That's all I'm
I,
saying.
I'm gonna leave it back to Sam for the rest of the story, though. Um,
So yeah, we proposed a group merger. We were the officers of each group. We were in talks, and we noticed there was a lot of synergy there. Really, we flowed
yeah,
well together, and so
yeah.
the groups merged together, and we played some games to get to know each other on Xbox, right?
Halo 3.
Halo 3, and I mean,
That's like, oh, go ahead.
what were you gonna say?
Like, that's like really crazy to me to think like you guys met before party chat, because I didn't have like actual internet in my house until party chat was a thing. Like, I had an Xbox, but that was like towards the end of my middle school career when we got like actual internet in the house and we could do Xbox Live. So just thinking that you guys were out like wild westing, like just typing to each other constantly until you got into a party chat, or not a party chat, in a lobby. That's like bonkers.
And yeah, the craziest thing was that like this was also on an external thing. Like we went on the computer to go
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
do all this. This wasn't even like integrated with the game itself. Oh man, things were it's so funny because like at the time it was awesome and like so advanced to think
yeah.
about, but like yeah, compared to now, it's just such a
Nowadays,
primitive.
it's so strange.
It's so primitive. It's crazy that like people manage to organize themselves even.
But that's like the beauty of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
It's like the struggle brought you guys together.
like you said, it's
true.
you're given sticks and stones and told to make something out of it, but you're not even told to make something out of it. They just give you sticks and stones, and you figure out a way to communicate with each other using them.
Pretty much.
And
Now I'm curious on how Sam climbed the ranks. Because, Sam, I'm doing the math here. You couldn't have been that old.
yeah,
No,
well,
Sam's several years younger than me.
it's true, it's true. And
Um,
yeah, I wasn't that old at the time, but right, but the big thing was because, like you said, the chats were kind of primitive at that time, right? Like a lot of the group stuff that you could do online, you just never had the voice chat with people, so they had no idea how young I actually was. So I ended up becoming the moderator for quite a few
yeah,
groups at the time. Like it was pretty bad, dude. Like at one point, I'm like a high level officer, quote unquote, in like a group that has over 10,000 people. This group got so big it was to the point where they made their own website with like thousands of users a day, and I'm just like a high level. These people have never spoken to me in their life, and I have like the power to kick and ban people or destroy the website if I could figure out how. Which at that age I could not, by the way.
You know what's crazy? is that Sam has all the, like had all that authority and stuff, but yet he still can't get moderator in our normal Discord chat.
Hey, I get
Brutal.
no comment on that. All right, that was due to my past where I look. If you guys see something crazy going on, you got to stand up and fight it, right? And so I saw these people, they were trying to consolidate power in our private Discord and leave everyone else out. I stood up against that, and to this day, I still have people claiming I don't deserve to be moderator, man. It's very sad.
Viva la Revolution, dude.
Viva la Revolution.
You guys were like the first benders of our era.
I think so.
You decided to make a own Discord with blackjack and ladies of the night.
We tried, man. We tried to stand against that tyranny.
You want to know something, Max?
What's up?
That's also how we brought Millwater into our orbit.
What you guys offered them blackjack and ladies of the night?
No, this is still back in the Halo 3
This is the
era.
forum days.
Yeah, but see, Millwater wasn't on the forums, right? What you would do, the next step after Sam and I had already been acquainted, is that if you were cool, this was like if you were like in the inner circle. What would happen was people would start hosting custom lobbies in Halo 3. And that right there, that when you got in those lobbies, that's when you made it. Like you had it made, man.
The custom lobby, man. That was where the fun began. All right.
That's seriously. So yeah, I guess it had to have been through Sam, and Sam probably through some other people in his larger group that he was a part of.
So,
But yeah,
so like we
go
said,
ahead.
man, right? Like this was at the time, dude. There was no party chat. You couldn't just like, I guess, turtle up with your friends and just do whatever, right?
Yeah.
So this was a very communal game. I really can't stress that enough. This was the kind of game where you would get on the Xbox Live your first time, right? And you would get into a lobby with 16 people you've never met before, and they would all be talking and chatting and whatnot. And then, without a doubt, an after-game chat of like a 16-person match, people would be like, "Oh, hey, anybody want to come do co-op campaign, or anybody want to go do unlock these secrets or something?" And just random people you've never met before would just all go split off and just do whatever. And that's how I met like a lot of my friends. That's how I met Millwater, for example. And so yeah, dude, custom games too. It was a lot of fun. There were all these kind of different wacky game modes, like this, different like infection type game modes or whatever, or capture the flag, or all these just this wacky rules that you could do.
Very creative.
And in this
very
game, for
creative.
those of you who don't know, you could also make like you had the base maps in the game, but you had this quote unquote forge mode where you could just add different dimensions to the map as well, add different items, turn some of them into just entirely different new maps if you were good enough at it. And so the custom games in that game with that kind of freedom got very popular, especially since that wasn't a typical thing you could do for the time. And so after like the big team battle game, you would just be like, "Hey, anybody want to go come play custom games?" And like 8 people out of 16 would come with you back to your thing. They'd get on your friends list, and then later on, they would just rotate in and out of your custom game lobbies. Like it was it was a time. And so Millwater was actually one of my regulars for the custom game lobbies that we held.
He was a disciple.
We would just
Wow. So you guys-
you would start up a custom games lobby and just start inviting people you knew were interested in the custom games, and like you don't know these people. It was a different time back then. You don't know these people, but they're just coming into your custom game lobbies because they know that's where it's at.
Let me also make another point. The back in those days too, you had a limited number of people you could have on your friends list. So
Really?
yeah, so like Sam, I'm gonna be assuming things here, but I'm sure his friends list got filled up at some point, and he had to start making room for all the exclusive people.
Yeah, you had to start curating people, man.
Oh, that's so mean. That's like MySpace top tens.
That's what you gotta do, dude.
Truly.
It went from
Holy
my
smokes.
people I play with occasionally to this is my custom game crew, and then you gotta leave a couple spots for your good friends on top of that. And then yeah, you just gotta make sure your
We-
regulars are on there. And then it got to the point where people would be like, "Hey man, your custom games lobbies are really fun. Can I get in your friends list?" And you'd be like, "Nah, but you can get on the friends list of one of my regulars right here." And I would refer them to like no one.
Oh my
Be like, yo, he's here a lot, so if you ever want to just get in here, man, just join off of him.
It's crazy that there was this whole social ecosystem that just existed in that time and place
Yeah.
that nobody will ever understand because it'll never happen again.
Yeah, because
Like, you just had to be there.
nowadays, if you go on to like game chat and like in the lobby in a game, half the time it's just people shouting like racial slurs at each other or something, man. You know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there was some of that back then too, but the difference was everybody had to be in game chat, so you had normal people just hanging around too.
Yeah, it was in your best interest not to like shout slurs at the host because you wanted to
looking at it
get
now.
invited back to the custom games lobbies because that was the shit.
And look at it now. We have friends that are throwing slurs out, and we still hang out with them.
Who would that be?
I can think
Video
of one.
games were a mistake.
Oh, okay. Well, pardon me.
My manager's gonna be pissed. So now, Sam, I gotta know. So how did you end up leaving Xbox and going on to the Skype call back in the day?
All right. So
Well,
those are like 2 or 3 different stories. How did I end up leaving Xbox? That's the fault of AJ. He's the one who introduced me to the cold world of PC gaming.
I'd like to defend myself, but go ahead. You go first, and then
Wait,
I want
alright,
to say
well,
my piece at the end.
Wait. We gotta pause here. So AJ, you're like the top gamer.
No, that's not entirely true. It's just you have to understand. I think this was what game was popular when like I disappeared. I mean, obviously that was when I went off to go like play Team Fortress and DayZ on the PC, and I got converted over. But back in the Xbox, what was going on at that time, Sam?
You know, I don't really think Xbox was popping too much at the time. We were still on like Battlefield 3. I think Battlefield Hardline had just come out, but nobody was buying that. No,
Mm.
Hardline came out way after that, but we were already on
Yeah,
PC.
that was much later.
We were still on like Battlefield 3 and stuff, but
Definitely
it
3.
just wasn't nothing too crazy was going on. It was
Anyway,
like, that was after Modern Warfare 2, after Battlefield 3. So I think part of it was that our Xbox interest was kind of like waning at the time.
there wasn't like this big unifying like game at the time because back in the in the early days, you had COD and you had Halo. And then you had some other stuff that you branched out into, like some people played Battlefield Bad Company.
Yeah.
What else do we play?
But once again, let me point out part of the problem with that was if you wanted to play Battlefield Bad Company, the maximum you could only bring 3 friends with you. So if you had more than 3 people you wanted to talk to, you either split off into 2 different groups, or you played Halo or you played Call of Duty.
True. Yeah, those games just facilitated the big group dynamic, especially Halo with the custom games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Custom games could just be whatever you wanted them to be. There was the players, man. The way they manipulated both the game type maker, because you could customize the game types to a pretty decent degree, but also the maps too. They came up with some game types that the developers never dreamed of, man.
Yeah, it was.
So now,
no, Max, you
so
go ahead.
you guys get bored, or well, AJ gets bored with Xbox, right?
Well,
And
it's not necessarily that. It's like, I think I got interested in other games. Like I always wanted to play TF2, and TF2 was on the Xbox, and I played it a little bit, but like it was like a watered down version. And it was the same thing with I think I was watching a lot of YouTube at the time, and I got really into like DayZ, which was not on Xbox,
yeah,
and the same thing with Minecraft, which was not on Xbox. So I was like, okay, I want to try out these things. Granted, it was kind of shitty to just dip and not say anything, but I will say, out of all that, I acquired Bill through
This is true.
Minecraft. So
Bill with a
you
worthy
know.
apology for it, man.
Bill, and look, he's still sticking around these days,
Oh
so
yeah, man.
did something right. And it's actually funny. You also mentioned that I just realized something. Bill's even younger than you guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Bill's a year younger than me.
So, like, you have to understand, Bill was a moderator at one point on the Minecraft server. And like again, this was still before Discord. This was like maybe there was like a TeamSpeak and like stuff going on, but like nobody was really using it because it
Yeah,
was weird.
because the problem was it required it wasn't like impossible to use, mind you. Like it was relatively easy to use, but at that time, like general computer literacy and like software literacy was much lower than it is nowadays, right? And the people who made those programs did not make them learning friendly or user friendly, or the
No,
UI was just not very intuitive.
not at all.
So it was hard, and it not only was it hard, it was just really not expected. Like even if you were the leader of these big groups, you did not expect most of your people to be downloading these programs and joining like third-party voice programs, right? Like you
Well,
didn't have
and
the ease of Discord right now.
the other thing is, I think, is that look at us all sitting here today. Like we all have like fairly powerful desktop computers, multiple
Uh-huh.
monitors, stuff like that. That was not the case back then. We had not hit that like powerful gaming computer revolution sort of. So like I was playing Minecraft and Team Fortress on like a laptop
Oh
for
yeah.
like yeah, I just had a laptop for like a ton of years. And like to try to like run like TeamSpeak and Minecraft was unheard of. It was
Oh
just not gonna
exactly.
happen. It was just not gonna happen. So yeah, I basically developed much like Sam. I developed a whole relationship with Bill just through like text chat in Minecraft.
Whoa.
Yeah, true story, man. But
So
what was
so
your
you
original
got
question?
so you got bored of, or well, not bored, but you end up switching over to PC for a little bit. But how do you bring Sam in?
I think I didn't like just not play Xbox. Like I'd come around it occasionally, and I guess
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think everything was already moving in that direction anyway. I guess I was just a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
And
so we made a joke about it, but honestly, we never saw it as you abandoned us, man, or at least I don't think I did. But it was
no,
always like
yeah,
you were just ahead of the curve because, like I said, things on Xbox are kind of winding down, and we all wanted just more out of gaming, and we kind of realized, especially when AJ would come back and just regale us with stories of what he was doing, we weren't going to find more on the Xbox. It was
yeah,
gonna have to be on PC.
yeah. PC just like was blowing up at the time. Like it was the era of like machinima like was peaking. Like everything was like PC, PC like in your face. All this cool shit coming together. You gotta switch over as soon as you can.
It was a whole new world, man. We see things like Minecraft, like right now that they have Minecraft on everything from your phone to your tablet. To back in the day, something like
Uh-uh.
Minecraft on the Xbox, unthinkable, dude.
Unheard of.
Yeah,
Unheard of. Yeah. Minecraft when it first came out, like we're 10 years deep into Minecraft cycle now, but like early Minecraft was like ridiculous. There was nothing like it.
Did you guys
It
buy yours in euros from PayPal like I did?
yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Um
Dude, that's so wild.
I also have one more things to say, and I'm not going to get into specifics. And Sam, this may offend you slightly.
I hope it does.
But and again, I don't want to insult you.
Wait, hold up. Are we gonna have to bring our manager in this, and we have to make
No,
another
no.
public apology?
No, because I'm not going to get into specifics. But
Okay.
I do want to say that Sam, Evan, and Millwater were in a particular phase during this time.
Oh
I'm
no.
offended
not-
already.
I
I am
am not-
offended already.
I am not going to get into the details. If anybody listening out there knows what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I felt very weird about it,
You should.
and
You should.
yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, Sam, and I've never expressed this to you, I don't think, but it made me feel very on the outside.
You should. You should.
Uh,
It speaks to your character, honestly.
it probably did. So I had to step away and go befriend a crazy Russian dude.
I should apologize for that, man. I should really apologize for driving
Oh
you to
my
the.
Oh my god, dude! Brent was a lunatic. He was a
Can we
maniac.
explain Brent a little bit for people who don't
This
know
is
Brent
this is not Brett. Brett's a good friend of mine from college.
Yeah.
Brent is a crazy Russian dude from Arizona who I met playing DayZ. Like day one,
It's
I
the most Russian thing ever.
so Daisy wasn't easy to play back in the day. You had to buy Arma, and you had to get the Daisy mod, and you had to like mess around with some files and stuff, and like go to like a certain like a server browser. It wasn't particularly easy to get into at first, but I figured it out. And the first person I ever met, like as Sam, like as like a fresh spawn, was Headshot Brent. And we went on like a 4 hour just adventure, and he just ran me through everything and explained everything to me, and I was like, this is the coolest dude ever. Okay, like he's the czar of DayZ. He basically taught me like how to play the game, and I was like, this is cool as hell. And eventually we became closer friends, and we ended up playing a lot of like Team Fortress and stuff like that. And then you guys all came over to PC and integrated with him, and it turns out he was actually a maniac. He was- he
It's
was-
pretty crazy that you found somebody that was willingly like helping you with DayZ, because when I played it with our friends, they just didn't help me. They were just find me. I was like, "What do you mean find me? I don't know where you're at." And they're just like, "Okay."
but you have
And
to
they just left
understand.
me. I spent like 8 hours the first day trying to find them. I finally found them. I got off and they left. They went somewhere else. So I spawned back in. I didn't know where they were.
That's kind of the DayZ experience for you.
So you guys meet with Brent.
Brent, yeah.
Brent gets crazy, starts probably threatening to kill people or something like gamers do.
I mean, you're not far off.
Wait, really?
He was pretty unhinged.
Oh god.
I
Gaming was a mistake.
Yeah, he I mean, I don't know. It's hard to describe because I
Yeah.
knew him differently than you guys knew him. Like I knew him for a while before you guys even met him, and like he wasn't like I knew he was a little out there, but like once he started interacting, especially with like Leon, yeah, that's
Oh,
when
Mamma Mia.
those two were like, yeah, a very bad chemical reaction occurred when they met, and things escalated quickly, and they kind of fed into each other.
Well, let's not dox too many people.
No,
right now.
I know. Let's step back from that. I do want to say though, Max, do you know what I'm talking about with regards to Sam, Evan, and Millwater having a
Oh yeah, I know. you're
Okay,
talking
so-
Alright, I'd
okay.
also like to point out Millwater wasn't involved in that too, by the way.
Was he not?
No.
Was
Uh,
it just you and
Yeah, we,
Evan?
we were chilling at the time, so like people always thought we was, but like I see how it'd be easy to mistake that.
So
And as
the
much as I
issue,
love
I
slander
think,
my boy Millwater, I can't do him like that on a podcast.
that's fair. I do want to say, I think the other issue came about because I was closest with you two,
Oh damn.
and like as soon as you guys got into that, I was like, no.
Yeah, I'm out. Deuces.
Yeah. So I felt a bit alienated, and also it was sort of just like this perfect storm of elements. It wasn't just like a one day like, oh fuck Evan and Sam, I'm out of here.
It was just over time. We all have that.
And then the whole meme is that Evan comes at me with, "Oh, AJ's gonna be on all summer," which is something I said. I admit to that. It was a great quote, and I deserve to be roasted for it because I pulled the carpet right out from under you guys. But yeah, I said that at the beginning of the summer, which back in the day, the whole summer was about how much time you could cram onto the Xbox, and I instead played a lot of TF2 and DayZ on the computer and
Yeah.
Minecraft.
So regarding that,
Minecraft.
man, right? So it's end of the school year in high school, dude. You're ready to play with your friends, man. You're ready to spend time with your friends. And AJ, he doesn't live close to Evan and I live close to each other at the time. AJ didn't live close, but not close enough.
Couple states over.
Yeah. So he lived like within, like decent. We have different ideas of reasonable driving distance, I guess, but within a couple hours drive.
Right.
But not close enough that we could see each other all the time. And we didn't
Mhm.
find that out until like way later. We didn't even know we lived that close when we met, by the way.
No, we didn't. For a while, we didn't.
And
We weren't even on a first name basis for a while. You remember that?
yeah.
For a long time. Like I don't know. It was just a different world back
wasn't
then,
You
man.
just call each other by your gamer
No.
names.
No.
Exactly.
You can dox people with that.
Well, I'm not saying you call each other now by your gamer names. I'm just
Oh yeah,
saying in
yeah,
general.
yeah. I'm saying don't mention them though, 'cause you can dodge people with that, man.
Yeah. I know.
Okay.
I don't even know your guys' gamer names from back in the day.
Yeah, it's not important. We'll get into that on break.
Yeah, we'll get that. We'll talk about that later.
Um, but yeah, Max, does that answer all your questions?
Yeah, man, it answers most of my questions.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah.
You got any more comments you want to make on it?
Well, it makes sense on how I met Sam through high school. Sam had a mutual friend that was in their Skype call, and I was friends with the mutual friend, and the mutual friend brought me in, and then I just never left. And then I realized that gaming's bad, and oh man, our manager's gonna be pissed. We should stop gaming. End gaming 2020.
All right, gamers. I would like to apologize for this man's statements. They don't reflect the rest of the group here.
Yeah, no, we're still pro.
I kind of have
gamer
like a toxic relationship with gaming.
here. Do you wanna elaborate more on that, or do you wanna
Yeah,
just
like-
leave it where it is?
Like back in the day, I didn't have internet until like really late in the game, like super late in the game, and I kind of got a PC from my parents. It was like a hand-me-down PC,
Well,
and
everybody
I had
did.
always gotten the hand-me-down PCs whenever they got a new one, but I didn't have internet until like towards the end of my middle school career, I guess. But I really got into computer games because I couldn't do regular games, because like most games required reading, and I was just a big dumb, and dyslexia really killed me with the big reading. So like I would just play like the first level of a game and never get anywhere because you had to read a section and I couldn't do it. So I got really into PC games, and then I realized I'm a salty boy, and I get really salty, and I was like, I don't want to be like this anymore. So then when I started hanging out with Sam's group, I was like, I'm not going to be a salty boy anymore. And then we got into Smite, and then I was back into being a salty boy.
Oh boy.
Smite's fun, dude. Smite's only fun.
I don't know. Sometimes I get big salt, so I had to stop. I had to take a chill pill.
That's fair.
And that's my toxic relationship with gaming.
Max, you know what time it is?
Is it time for an ad read?
Yeah, we're at right around that time.
We actually got 2 ads, so I hope you guys enjoy these 2. This week's episode is sponsored by Bobby's Body Removal. You got tied up with the mob and now there's a body in the river? Well, call Bobby at 333-333-3333, extension 4, and he'll make that problem go away. This week is also sponsored by our lovely subscribers. It turns out we already have 11 of you beautiful people, which is 11 times more than we originally thought we would ever get. We thank you, and stay tuned for more SAM action. Welcome back to the SAM experience. I hope you enjoyed our nice little ad reads, and we like to really thank our sponsors of the day, especially you subscribers. We really appreciate it. So we were talking off air, and we think we're going to unveil a new segment. I kind of promised it in the last week's episode. We're calling it the Caveman Saga. Now, for you two who probably don't know what I'm talking about, the Caveman Saga is... I didn't actually know if I wanted to talk about this. I was talking to the person who also knew the caveman and told me that it was probably a bad idea to do it, but I'm still going to talk about it. So this is a story essentially about the worst roommate anyone possibly could have. I think there's probably better stories about horrible roommates, but this was the first time that I've ever had a roommate, and it just was horrible. And you guys can interject whenever you guys want. Do you guys want to hear the title of part 0 of the Caveman Saga, the origins?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this in chronological order, or is it just like based on
Yeah,
your
this
pain?
is going to be mainly in chronological order.
That's incredible that you remember all this in order.
I actually was writing a massive Google Doc when I first lived with them, and I was going to post it on the internet, but I decided against it. and now we're just gonna do it in word form.
I will, just a little side note. My one roommate, who I loved living with, this guy was awesome. But
Uh-huh.
I also was keeping a Google Doc on the stuff he did because he was the worst chef ever. So what I
Oh
would do
no.
is I would take pictures of all the disgusting crap he cooked, and,
Oh.
and I made it into a big PowerPoint. Oh no, I'm
Did you
sorry.
roast him at the end of the year?
No, I only showed it to my sister.
Uh,
Anyway, good. Yeah, Max, get into your story.
so, the origins of the caveman will start with intro to the Dorito covered floor. So back in the day, we're gonna do the podcast sin. We're gonna talk about university again.
Oh no.
So my first year of actual university, I commuted. This is my third year of school. I have a really hard major. Commuting an hour there and an hour back, maybe 2 hours of traffic wasn't a good look, and it really showed with my grades. So I was looking for a little bit of a way out, and I hung out with a classic member of our group all the time, Z. Now we'll probably have to blur out his name in post, but
We could
we
ask him.
probably won't.
We could ask
so,
him.
Me and my homie, we were hanging out, and he was like, I needed a place to stay one time because I was taking an exam, like real late at night, and I didn't want to have to drive home and then drive back early in the morning. And they let me crash on their couch. He lived with 3 other roommates. One of those roommates was relevant in a story we told a couple podcasts ago, but I don't want to like air out his grief. But he's a great guy, great dude.
Anyway,
They let me stay and sleep on their couch, and as like a kind of like a compensation, I gave him a Walmart gift card, even though there was no Walmarts in the area. Very bad hindsight in my point of view, but I gave him this gift card as like a thank you. And eventually, they reached out and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for a 4th roommate for next year. Do you want to tag along?" And at first, I hesitated and I was like, "Nah, I don't think so. I don't really know." And then I got some of my grades back, and I was like, I kind of got to stay up here if I want to actually pass school. So I came back to him. I said, "Is that offer still available?" And they're like, "We're sorry, we filled that offer, but if you want to still room with us, we can go 5 and the rent will be even cheaper." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, but who did you fill this offer with?" And it turned out to be my high school bully, essentially. And I still agreed.
wait, I
That-
didn't know that. I thought it was some random guy.
So I actually went to high school with him. He was one of the roommates' little brother. They were a year apart, or maybe 2 years apart. I don't really remember.
So two
Um,
people living in the house in this 5 stack in the house was a guy and his little brother.
A girl and his
Oh.
little brother.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get into the nitty gritty of it in a minute. And I thought like maybe I shouldn't like actually room with this guy. Like I knew I wasn't gonna stay in the same room with him. I was gonna be with our friend. And I was like, all right, well, it's not that bad of it. It's not that bad.
But you do have to
Right?
share the
He-
house with him.
I do have to share the house with him, but I got yoked. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got super swole, just jacked out of my goddamn mind. And I knew if anything came to it, I knew what I could do, right?
You could throw down.
Well, I can intimidate. I can't throw down. That's the mistake people realize is when you're jacked, you're not actually like good at fighting.
But it's more like the threat. Like if he tries
Yeah.
anything, he wouldn't in the
Um,
first place because you're now jacked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, we're gonna just go for it, whatever. He doesn't even remember who I am. It doesn't
Oh.
even matter. Like he doesn't even know we went to the same school,
Dang.
right?
Yikes.
And I'm not going to like talk about why he needed to live with his older sister, even though essentially he peaked in high school and was real down bad. So he needed a place to stay, and his sister was like, "All right, come with me," right? So the original 4 roommates were our friend, a guy that we know, the guy's girlfriend who essentially brings in her little brother, and another girl. The other girl left, right? So the little brother fills her spot, and then I was the fifth person. So for that summer, I didn't stay at the house. I went back home. I stayed home. I worked at home. I didn't work at home, but I worked near my home. And I ended up paying rent, but I didn't pay utilities because I thought that was unfair because 3 people were currently living there.
And why should
and
you pay
paying
for
for
their
utilities.
gas and water and stuff?
Yeah, and I can't monitor everybody and be like, hey, you're using too much of this, you're using too much of that. Like, I can't afford that. Like, I was paying for school all out of pocket. I still didn't have any loans. I still don't have any loans. So, I was basically living slum life, right? And this house wasn't big, by the way. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, living room, that kind of situation.
Well, I think Sam
Old
and I
house
Sam
built
and I
in,
were,
like, the 60s or
Sam,
something.
Sam and I were both there once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed, both of you were there, and there's an interesting story about that, which we'll get into another time.
That's for another segment.
Yeah. So I essentially bought all this furniture to live up there, real cheap stuff, but I didn't move it in until towards it was about to be time for school because I didn't really see a point of driving it all up there or whatever. So I recruited my brother. We filled up a trailer, and we drove over there. And I put it in the group chat a couple days ahead of time saying, hey, I'm coming. I'm dropping some stuff off, and then I'm leaving. And the girl who brought the brother in was like, okay, I'll meet you there. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Wouldn't you already be there? But I didn't think about it. I just drove up there, realized I forgot my key, so I couldn't even get in without her. So we get there, she lets me in, whatever. Me and my brother unload the stuff. My brother's like, hey, I'm going to wait for her in the car. And the girl pulls me aside. She says, hey, can we talk? And I'm like, whoa, are these people going to kick me out, like, already? Like, this is messed up.
Yikes.
So we go into their dining room. She goes, hey, I'm really, really sorry. And I'm like, dude, they're going to kick me out. They're kicking me out. I can't believe this. I've been paying rent for 3 months. They're going to kick me out? She says, me and my boyfriend, we're moving out. We can't handle living with my little brother anymore. And I'm just speechless.
The little brother being the caveman.
The little brother is the caveman. And I didn't know he was a caveman at first. I figured he was kind of like... When I first went in, there was a lot of drug paraphernalia laid out across the counter, which when you first walked in was the first thing you saw. And I was like, oh, come on, guys. I could have brought my family here. They could have saw this. And the caveman literally hit her older sister and boyfriend out of the house.
Because of his
She was like, I'll
behavior.
still pay rent. We'll move our stuff out of our room. And then you can have that room. You'll have your own room. And it'll just be split into 4s now because we're not living here, yada, yada, yada. Even though we signed the lease, we can't do this anymore.
Max.
Are you still good with going forward? And guess what I said?
Well, you said yes because you needed the place.
Yeah, because I needed the place.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I'm getting the logic correct here. The older sister originally was living in the house.
Yes.
She was one of the originals.
She was an OG.
Her younger brother, the caveman, was in such a bad spot in his life that she was like, okay, he can come live with me while he sorts it out. More or less.
Yeah, essentially.
And he was such a terrible, terrible person that the sister and the sister's boyfriend... Wait, and the sister's boyfriend was also paying rent, correct?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
They both moved
so
out.
2 people straight up decided that this guy is so awful, we have to move out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the best part was I thought that they were there for a really long time. It turned out they were only there for like half a month before they moved out.
Oh my.
They couldn't even
and
handle
they were just
like
paying
2
rent
weeks.
and they just left him alone in this house.
Oh.
So I'm like, how could this guy be that bad? And I'm driving home. I'm telling my brother, he's like, dude, you screwed up. I'm like, what do you mean you screwed up? And he's like, that guy's going to be horrible. And I'm like, he's not going to be horrible. Right? So I had 2 weeks until school started. Right? I was like, what's the worst that can happen? By the way, when the two moved out, it was literally just those three. Like me and our friend, we never actually were living up there. We were both working down south. And we moved back up when it was time for school to start. Even though our friend wasn't even going to school. He was just hanging out, which was the best part of living with him. And he was the best roommate, period. Besides a couple of the other guys I lived with last year. But so cut to like it's the Saturday before school or maybe it's the Sunday before school starts.
Late August.
We had a Monday off, so I figured I would bring all my stuff, my actual stuff up there. Get myself situated, get myself all figured out, and we'll go from there. Right? So I load up my car. You guys know I don't have a big car, but I fill it to the brim. Everything I can possibly think of. Bikes, pillows, clothes, food, everything.
Yeah, books and stuff.
I drive up there, park in the driveway. I'm all excited. I walk inside, and before I walk in, I take my shoes off, right? And I'm like, this is going to be the best. This is going to be like a fun college movie all the time. I am so excited to live on campus. So I take my shoes off because I don't want to get dust in the house, right? I immediately put one bare foot down into a Dorito. The floor is covered. The floor is covered with nacho Doritos.
Nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese Doritos. Caked the floor. Just destroyed the floor. And I'm just like, how is this possible? How could this happen to me? And we'll get into the next bit next episode.
Oh, he's going to leave us on that?
Yes. Because it's going to take us probably 3 or 4 episodes to just get out of the first week of living with the caveman.
Oh, no.
It was such a culture shock. It just blew me away. And now I don't want to give this guy bad light. Like, there was points in living with him that was not okay, but they were reasonable. He was really down bad. I had to explain a lot to him about how life worked, which kind of blew my mind, which we'll get into like way later down the line.
Getting ahead of
But
yourself.
he really did teach me a lot on how to handle people. So there was like a positive and a negative.
Yeah, you really.
But it was basically like living with a literal caveman.
Yeah, I had my fair share of some shit housemates, and I don't think anything can compare to what you're about to, lay out for us.
Do you guys want to what the episode title of the next one's gonna be?
Yeah, get up a sneak peek, man.
Cage-free meat. I'm just gonna let that one linger.
It's disgusting.
That was a joke that me and Z had constantly.
Just gonna throw up my mouth.
Yeah.
But like, have you guys ever lived with like really bad roommates?
Never.
Well, I had some questionable housemates, and you know what the worst part is? They're like, you can like a person, right? Like, this person's a good person. You just never lived with them before, and as soon as you live with them, you just want to blow your brains out.
That's why I think that if it came to it, I don't think I could really ever live with my friends.
I don't blame you.
Like, I've had really good experiences with living with a lot of my friends, but I don't want, like, my issues as a person to, like, really, like, I'm a clean freak. Like, I like things being clean, like, in like, out in the open, and if somebody leaves something on the counter and they just like walk away from it, like I have to clean it, but that builds resentment.
No, I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, I mean the same thing happened back at the first house I lived in, which I referenced last week, which was the old, split level house. I was living underground. One of the guys that lived there, who at the time I was fine with, but there was a war between. So I lived in a double with my man, with his one guy, and then he lived in the other room. There was 3 rooms in the basement and 3 rooms on the upper floor. and the third guy who lived in the basement was public enemy number one, and he had
No.
a war going on with the guy I shared a room with for the whole time we lived together. Like it got to the point where like they were throwing pots and pans at each other, dude.
Jesus.
Yeah, it got ugly at times. I'm not gonna lie to you. This guy was just he was such a strange character. Like you could not predict from knowing him that like living with him would end up this way, right? He's a very let me lay this out for you, right? He takes very good care of himself, right? He's in excellent physical shape. He like it like wears like perfectly clean clothes and is like
Mhm.
meticulous about it, right? Like perfect teeth, every perfect hair all the time, right?
Are you just describing Sam?
I'm just gonna leave that one where it is.
You wouldn't be, would you?
This is not Sam for those
This is
listening
like
at
a
home.
this is like a perfect description of Sam. But continue.
Anyway, every single other thing about this guy was disgusting. His room
Uh,
was just covered, like the floor of his area and his room was just covered in garbage and dirty shit and like just junk. It was nasty. And like, I don't want to get too much into it, but I wouldn't have had this much of a problem with him, okay? If he kept all this like gross behavior and activity and whatever to himself, right? If it just kept in his room, I would have been able to live with it. But the fact that he would like let all this spread all over the house, right? And like he would be like, and he also like would do weird shit. Like it'd be like 3 in the morning, and he's like running around upstairs, like doing a workout with like music blasting. Which I know, Max, that I've done that to you, so I can't really. Yeah, that's a callback. Um,
Callback. Well,
callback.
that was your house though.
I know. Well, and this was his house, but regardless,
But
he
I was a guest at the house. I wasn't like an actual like member that paid rent. Like if I paid rent, I wouldn't do that shit.
it's a different story. Um,
But speaking of spreading of diseases, this could be a good segue into another topic unless you want to continue.
no, I
with-
have nothing more to say. Honestly, he's somebody I don't ever want to talk to ever again in my life. He
just makes you sick to your stomach.
yeah, because he just acted so poorly. And like I watched him consistently make the wrong decision at every single turn, and it oftentimes screwed me over and made me like irrationally upset because again, I would see the choice in front of him. Okay, he cooked something. Okay, the dirty dishes are there. He would just like walk away and like leave the house. And it just that pissed me off to no end, man. Cuz we had like policies. It was like, dude, if you're going to cook, you're going to clean the kitchen and you're going to leave the kitchen the way it was when you walked in. We had a very small kitchen with like no counter space, okay? So you couldn't leave dirty shit and food laying around.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done. I don't want to talk about this guy anymore. He just drives me up the wall.
So speaking of being sick to your stomach, we currently are in a global pandy.
Yeah, with no end in sight.
Now, there's always a silver lining to bad things, and I want to know what your guys' like favorite memory from the beginning times, the first year
The
of
first
the
year.
pandy.
Yes, the first year of the beginning of the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
easily, dude.
S-
The change in my work dynamic, man. I was working at we'll call it like a box factory. It was more than just a box factory. It was a box factory, right, dude? We just loaded trucks, and these boxes they contained all sorts of things, heavy things, light things. You're just breaking your back all day, right? But it was fun because the people there were
Uh-huh.
fun. So we went from like just pushing out all kinds of trucks loaded laden down with all sorts of stuff, right? Breaking your back every day, to all the main, like we'll call them truck lanes. All the main loading lanes were shut down, and only one side of the building was open. And it was just light work for like a month straight. And then after that, we went on break for like a month because there was just nothing to ship out. But dude, that month of just going from back breaking work to light work all day for the same pay, and just kind of chilling with everybody at work. Oh my goodness.
Dude, that's so. Wait, was this when you were still back in the OK?
No, no, this was here.
Okay. So, so like, did you guys still show up to work even though you had nothing to ship?
So no. So what they did, right? We effectively went down to like not even a fourth of our usual output, like way less than that, by only having one portion of the building open.
So,
So
oh, okay.
by doing that, we slowed down our output a lot and we stretched it out, and we weren't really like they never really pressured us per se to have a certain level of output. I mean, we had a whole bunch of hard workers there, so that was never a problem. But
Hmm.
I know there are a lot of factories where people are like peeing in bottles and stuff to get by. That was never us, right?
Dang.
And
At
so
Amazon. At Amazon.
yeah, I'm not adding anybody in particular, but it's
Oh,
people doing what
sorry.
they got to
Sorry.
do.
Yeah.
We'll edit it out in
So
post.
here we were never encouraged to go that far, and if your lane was ever getting overloaded, so long as you were working hard, you were allowed to slow down. If that makes sense, like you had some people who would show up and not want to work. Okay, that's not okay. But if you've been working hard and they know you've been working hard, they'll be like, yeah, you can slow down, dude. Just chill. But when we went to that one portion of the building, we were slowing down even more. Like we were just encouraged to take a leisurely pace to try to stretch out the work. So I
Dang,
guess
it's almost like we're back at the gym.
I don't know what you're possibly talking about. We worked hard at the gym, didn't we, Max?
So, going back to working at the box factory, so you still work the same amount of hours.
Yeah, you still work the same amount of hours. You're just doing like, uh, not nearly as
You're just
much work.
BSing.
You still make. Yeah, actually, we were making a bit more because we got like, pandemic pay and all that.
Oh man.
So we were making more for far less. And I'm a
Dude,
hard worker
that
when it
is
comes
epic.
down. Like I meme about being like lazy and stuff, but when it comes down to it, dude, I work like really hard at work. So going from that heavy pace we were taking the first couple months I was there to that light pace once the pandemic picked up, I realized I want to get an office job. I think
I
Godspeed.
don't know.
getting the
I don't
same
think so.
amount of pay, but also not breaking my back every single day. I was like, wow, I could do this for the rest of my life and be fine.
Office jobs are really like tedious though.
Oh yeah. But I'd much rather do something like that than say break my back every day, and I'd much rather do something like that than say retail. Oh no,
Yeah, good
no,
point.
no. My heart goes out to all you retail workers out there, and if you love it, dude, uh, more power to you. Honestly, it's not for
Truly.
everyone. It takes a certain kind of person, and that stuff is just a different kind of difficult.
I like how Sam thinks people like working in retail.
Hey, some people who probably do, and depending on where you
How
work and
like
who
how
you're
much do
working
you really
for.
think people like working in retail?
You got to be built different.
Let's say you have 100 people, Sam. How many people like working in retail?
At least two.
Yeah.
And one
I
of
was
them
gonna say
Yeah,
too.
okay, that's probably about right.
Yeah. That's
and
tops.
one of them is
Tops.
the power tripping cashier manager.
Oh, I love that lady. So that's a really solid. I didn't expect you to have that solid of a memory on quarantine.
Oh, I do, man. It was
Do you think back on it and like look fondly? Because that's my favorite quarantine memory. I look back on it and wish I was sitting back in that seat.
I look fondly on it, I guess. It's it changed my trajectory, really.
There you go.
Me too, man. Big time.
So AJ, what was your memory?
So, are you asking me just a memory
Or
or
just your favorite one?
oh, my favorite one? That's tough because I don't really have one specific thing. But like
Mm-hmm.
Sam said, I think Sam actually said it exactly right. It changed the trajectory of my life through like just all the events that happened in like the span of just 1 year, you know? I,
Yeah.
I, I like totally readjusted the way I saw everything pretty much. Like
And how?
I know that just comes about, like when you get older, you just gain better perspective on stuff.
Mm.
But like I feel like like 5 years of experience of stuff was crammed into like that 1 year. And as a result, I just have a very different outlook on things.
And why do you think you have a different outlook now? Do you think it's because like you were forced to not do things?
Well, it's not. I mean, I worked most of through the pandemic. Like I was employed. I started out working at Trader Joe's when it hit. I was working, yeah, like a lot of
Hashtag
hours.
the Joe's knows.
What's that?
Hashtag the Joe's knows.
I don't think I've ever heard that used before, but yeah.
It's gonna be trending after this episode.
Dude,
Probably not.
Trader Joe's was nuts right when the pandemic was coming, like starting to pick up, because nobody knew what was going on. Everybody was just like, do we have to wear gloves? Do we have to wear a mask? Like, you remember when it was just unclear as to like what the hell was happening. So, and then everybody started panicking and just buying out everything. And you've been to a Trader Joe's. It's not like it's not Costco, okay? Costco is where you...
hold up, AJ, pause.
What?
You think my state has Trader Joe's?
See, but you've been to one.
We have Rofos. All right, continue with your story.
But you've been to a Trader Joe's, right?
No, never been to a Trader Joe's.
You're familiar with the concept of a Trader Joe's.
I know it's a grocery store.
Yes, okay. The idea is that it's tiny and it's for bougie-ass rich people, okay?
Hipsters, okay.
Hipsters, yes. Millennials, yes.
Sam, do you shop at Trader Joe's? You're checking all the boxes here.
Pardon me. No, dude. We don't if we have a Trader Joe's around here, I haven't seen it.
The point is, though, that actually working there was great. It was awesome. Like I said, I've worked at like a lot of different grocery stores. Trader Joe's treated me pretty well.
Okay, so the pandy just starts, right?
Yeah. Where was I going?
How
with
was
this whole
Trader
thing?
Joe's?
Trader Joe's.
Immediately.
Yeah. So the point I was trying to make is that everything was getting nuts, and you know like a Costco, you got like BJ's, right?
Yeah.
Those are like, you go there if you need like 10 pounds of chicken, 18 bottles of wine, and like a truckload of toilet paper.
Yeah.
You don't go to Trader Joe's for that. But people showed up to our Trader Joe's and would buy out like the entire inventory of stuff. It was nuts. All these rich people would show up with their like entire extended family, take over like half the store, and like locusts, dude. They would descend upon the store and buy everything. I have never seen anything like it in my entire life. Like the stories of people, the stories of people like, you saw in the news, people like buying out, like we had a national toilet paper shortage, for crying out loud.
That was just bad marketing.
Well, yes.
That could have been prevented.
But I mean, we ran out, like we were out of like eggs and milk and chicken by like 10 o'clock in the morning. And like people would like come in like looking to buy all this stuff. We're like, yeah, like a whole family came in and bought like 5 shopping carts worth of chicken, and that's it. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I apologize for that. I'm just gonna.
That was how they sounded.
That
was how they sounded when they were coming to buy
yes,
chicken.
Exactly. And dude, people thought the world was gonna end. They really did. I am convinced, based on the interactions, I put in a lot of hours. I got hazard pay too.
Ooh,
because
nice.
I put in a ton of hours, right? And then I stopped working there. My mom was like, yeah, you can't work there anymore because, like, me and your dad are old and, like, we're going to get sick and die, so let's not. So I did have to stop working there. But in the couple weeks leading up to that was just unlike anything I've ever seen in my life.
When I, like, went through it, I'm not very cultured, I guess is the best way for me to say it.
Well, that's relative, Max, but go on.
I was still in school, so like I was big in school mode, so I had no clue what was going on past the wall, like the golden gates of the university.
Yeah, you were locked in.
So the day my state got infected, I was about to take an exam, right? And they had closed school a minute after my exam started. So, and of course the professor was like, we're not going to stop the exam. And I didn't know. So I still did the exam, right? I had my phone off, whatever. And I'm going to my next class, which is at like 7 o'clock at night. I'm pushing my bike across campus, and everybody's talking about what they're going to do tomorrow. This is so great. I can't believe this, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, what are these people freaking talking about? I got a class. What are you talking about what you're going to do tomorrow? We got class tomorrow. So I show up. There's a microwave in the dorm hall, so I microwave my meal, and I'm sitting there eating, and everybody's coming around talking about, like, what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do tomorrow? Like, what are these people talking about? Eventually, somebody from my class shows up and says, class is canceled, right? I'm like, class isn't canceled. Good joke. And they're like, no, there's a global pandemic going on. We're all going to die. And I was like, yeah, really funny. And then I turn my phone on, and that's the email. So that night, me and the boys that I was living with, which does not include the Caveman, we went to our local grocery mart, and we could not find a single thing.
It was cleaned out, right?
It was cleaned out. The only thing that was left in the meat department was 4 pounds of ground chicken. And this actually brings me into my favorite quarantine memory. So I meal prep. I meal prep a lot. And I ended up using that 4 pounds of ground chicken, and I made taco meal prep with brown rice and broccoli. And it was the best meal prep I've ever had to date. I don't eat it because it's pretty fattening because of how much taco seasoning I use. But during the pandy, that's all I was eating, basically. And one of my favorite memories was it was in the summer. I had found an audiobook on the internet for free on the YouTube. It rhymed with the Schmunger Games. Never listened to the audiobook before. And I have this vivid memory, and I wish I could go back to it. I can literally any moment in my life is I'm sitting at my desk listening to this audiobook. The window's open, birds are chirping outside, the wind's blowing in, and I'm eating this beautiful taco meal prep. And I think about it every day at work.
That was just the peak experience.
That was like the whole, like, I love audiobooks, and just hearing that and eating that meal was just icing on cake. Like, nothing bad was happening outside. Like, the whole world's on fire, and I'm listening to a book about the world being on fire.
Dude, you remember when the Hunger Games were like the thing?
Oh,
They were like,
yeah, like every girl had their hair braided like the Katniss.
yeah, man, and like the whole. I remember when it got so big to the point where like there were just like knockoff movies. Like Hollywood was just churning out like knockoff movies
Oh yeah,
based on the Hunger Games.
it's all that rise up fantasy. Like, have you noticed it's like with every basic teen drama movie
Of course.
or young adult movie that blows up?
So,
Right, like you had Twilight probably had like 1,000 spinoffs.
of course.
Well, Hunger Games had a couple spinoffs that didn't last.
Did they?
Then there was like
Yeah.
there was like a big like dragon phase where like there were like a ton of like different like kid meets dragon movies.
Yep.
God.
The Sam, the Hunger Games had like this. It wasn't really a spinoff. It was called Divergent. It was basically the same movie.
Oh,
That's I think that's the one I was talking
yeah, it's like a
about.
knockoff. Except,
Yeah. The best part was the last movie. They were like, "We're just gonna put it out on TV. No one's watching this." And I hate when they do this to books where they split the movie into two parts.
Yeah.
Like the Hunger Games, the third book, I couldn't even finish the third book of Hunger Games. I love the first two books. The third book was just too sad for me.
so, dude, I loved the third
Oh,
book. When I was
You
younger.
mean when everyone was getting like just killed off on the assault
Yeah,
in the
everybody's getting
city?
killed off. Everybody's big sad mode. I'm like, I don't want to listen to this anymore.
Yeah.
I was fine when we were in little boy sad mode, and now we're in big boy sad mode. I just couldn't do it. Like, I guess we can't really speak too heavily into it because of spoilers, but I got like
Max,
halfway
come
through the
on.
book.
Look how far into this we are. We could talk about it.
So I got to the part where like the pita bread boy, he ended up getting brainwashed
Yeah.
into like hating Katniss, and they were like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna put you in the arena with him because yeah, why not?" And I got to the part where they're just about to go into the last Hunger Games, and that's where I ended it. I have no clue what happened after that. Like, I didn't watch the movie, so
I
I don't
remember
know.
the big part that I remember. Again, spoilers, so do not
It's,
do not listen at this
it's
point
alright.
if you want to. Sam, you're familiar with them though, right?
Oh yeah, I love the Hunger Games, dude.
You remember right at the end when like they're like, okay, great, we like made our assault like one. We're finally like at the end, and then
Yeah.
the sister gets blown up
Yeah.
What?
with the presents.
All right. So now we're gonna
Yeah,
explain what happens. All right, so super spoilers right here, right? So the rebel forces they have stormed the capital, and they are
Uh
winning
huh.
the battle. They're overrunning the capital forces, man. And
it's
the
like
president's
easy. Well, it's
mansion,
not
right?
easy.
In order to protect himself from getting blown up, President Snow has all the children in the capital gather in front of the mansion. And so a drop ship that's marked with capital markings flies over and drops a whole bunch of like supply packages down onto these poor children. And
Uh
then
huh.
the packages just explode, dude. Children just getting blown up left and right.
Yeah,
Holy
And so
yeah.
then
The,
smokes.
then the rebel medics they land. They come off of rebel drop ships and they start to help people, right? And young Primrose, 14 years old, she's been working like medical back in District 13 as an apprentice, and she's out here on the front lines for some reason. And she
this is Katniss's sister, by the
yeah,
way.
Yeah, yeah, I
and
remember.
so she runs forward and she helps out, starts helping these poor children, right?
Uh huh.
And then the second explosions occur.
Holy
She just gets
smokes.
Yeah,
blown to bits. Oh,
yeah, like right in front of
yeah.
Katniss too.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's gotta be scarring.
I
Oh
remember
yeah.
there was the. I remember when they were like down in the sewers and they were getting like torn up by
Yeah.
like the evil like mutant like lizard people that they had like guarding the sewers.
Yeah.
That third book went crazy, Max. I would give it another try.
Honestly, I think the third
I
book,
gotta
like
listen to all of them over again.
the older I get, dude, the more I think the third book is by far the best book. Like I
It
know
might
a lot
be.
of people didn't like, a lot of people thought it was very depressing, but like the way it handles itself, the way it handles storytelling, and the way it commits to its consequences for better or worse. Like it really commits to normally when they
I
use
guess
things
I'm gonna
like
have to.
brainwashing or people going rogue or stuff like that, it all turns out to be really cheesy. But this is a book that follows through.
Okay, so I just want to know, how does it end?
So,
I'm still gonna listen to it.
all
So
right,
You should.
huge spoilers for the ending right here, yo. So it ends. So Cat, you already said it yourself. That's got to be pretty scarring, right, dude? Katniss is just like
yeah.
practically catatonic. She's not really catatonic, dude. But she's just like she like loses the ability to talk for a bit, dude. She's just dead inside for just weeks and weeks and weeks
She's messed up.
after that. And
Uh huh.
she has a eventually she kind of like starts coming back to herself. And the first thing she does, President Snow was being held like prisoner nearby, right, until his execution. Now, part of her deal with the leader of the rebels was that she would be
Yeah, that she gets to kill.
their icon if she could kill President Snow.
Uh huh.
And so she finally like kind of not really snaps out of it, but she like recovers a little bit, and she goes to see President Snow where they're holding him. And they have a private conversation. And now you know how she was in like a love triangle the whole books.
Yeah.
Yeah, well the one cool hunter dude from District 12, her
Yeah.
childhood friend.
Gale.
Yeah, he had been designing weapons for the rebels along with some of the other former victors.
Yeah, with the dude who figured out the second Hunger Games trap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so Gale had at one point mentioned to Katniss they had come up with a bomb that blows up twice, right? Once to kill the
Uh
people
huh.
or to injure people, and then the second time to kill the rescuers.
Oh, and that's what they use to blow up the people
The
that
kids.
are
Yeah.
not.
And so Katniss goes to have a private conversation with President Snow, and the first thing President Snow says, he's like, "Yo, Katniss, I'm really sorry about what happened to your sister, dude." He's like, if I had a working aircraft, I would have been out, not bombing Capitol children." And then Katniss is like, "Bro, you're lying. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me." But it's in her mind the whole time. And so the
Oh.
execution rolls around, and President Snow's tied to a post. She's got her bow and arrow ready to kill him, and the leader of the rebels is standing there above everyone making the speeches, right? And Katniss
Uh huh.
goes to shoot President Snow, and at the last second, she shifts her aim upwards and just kills President Coin instead.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And does it just end there?
No, no, it keeps going, man. But that's like one of the biggest points in the book. And after that, Plutarch takes over. You remember Plutarch or no?
Yeah, he
He
was the
was
designer,
he
wasn't
was
he?
like the tech guy.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I think
he was the guy who in the second book was like, "Hey, I'm gonna hook you up with the whatever."
He figured out all the stuff with like the electricals in the
Yeah.
second book. He like took apart some stuff. I
Oh
think.
wait,
Is
he
that the
was the
same
guy
no,
guy?
no,
who
that was
No,
BT.
that BT died. That's right. He got killed.
Wait, did
Like
he?
he sacrificed
Plutarch
himself or something.
was a game master for the second one.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Plutarch
I
was
got
one of the
think
game
right.
masters.
It's been a while since I've
Yeah, it's been a
read
minute.
them.
I actually forgot Plutarch was one of the game masters too. I knew he was somebody important. I just didn't know what his role was. He was a capital guy, but yeah. So Plutarch, one of the game masters, he actually ends up taking over, I think, as like president of what was it, Panem, whatever they call it, their
Yeah,
planet.
the
Yeah.
region.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's actually the U.S.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, if you look at the map, it's like really easy to tell that it's the U.S.
So
Anyway,
continue.
anyway.
Plutarch takes over as president, and then Plutarch, as well as so at this point, Katniss has like a lot of influential friends on account of they're like the only people left alive. So
Yeah.
they kind of use their different powers to. They essentially prevent her as like present her as somebody who was just shell shocked from war, out of her mind, and she uses that to be able to avoid being executed. Although she doesn't personally use that, the people around her do it. She's just like really out of it, ready to die.
Yeah.
And so over like the months and years, she kind of starts to recover, and she marries Peeta.
Yeah, she settles
really?
down with Peeta. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's thinking about it, right?
Huh.
Like Gale comes to see her after all that, and pretty much the first thing Gale says is like she says is like, Gale, were those your bombs? And Gale's like, does it even matter? Because at this point, it really isn't confirmed that President Coin, leader of the rebels, is the one who dropped the bombs.
Yeah.
But it is
Oh, they just never tell
yeah,
you, but it's
they,
like implied.
it's implied that there's enough evidence that she did do it that it's always going to be on Katniss's mind, and that's pretty much what Gale says. Gale's like, we don't know if it was my bombs, but it's always going to be on your mind, isn't it? And after that, Gale like leaves to get a fancy government job somewhere, and you never see him again. And so
Dang.
Katniss ends up with Peeta, because Peeta.
But Peeta's still like in his brainwashed, like
No.
kill Katniss state.
He's recovering from that, so he's been spending months and years recovering from that too at this point. And so Peeta
Huh.
comes. She heads back to District 12. Her brother doesn't come back to District 12 because all of it, like her husband died there. Her child is dead. She
Yeah.
doesn't want to go back to the memories of this bombed out town. So her mother gets like a job at a hospital somewhere in a different district. And
Oh.
they yeah. So Katniss and Haymitch end up back in District 12 when they live in the Victor's Village. And Peeta eventually moves back there as well, and they get married.
Huh. What a wild ride of a book.
Dude, so personally, man, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought the way the Hunger Games handled its characters, handled the consequences of like their actions and whatnot, was really well done. Overall, it was kind of a depressing book. Like, 'cause Katniss's actions, they go rogue, right? Like they aren't supposed to go on a mission to assassinate President Snow when she takes everybody to go do that. That's her own thing that she comes up with on her own, and it gets almost everybody who comes with her killed.
Yeah, dude. They
And
like a lot of them get killed
Yeah.
like in horrible ways.
oh, like
Oh
it's
my God.
terrible, man. And
Some
all
George R. R.
the work
Martin
she
shit.
put in doing that just did
Uh-huh.
not matter. It was almost not entirely pointless. It does eventually lead to her killing President Coin, and that's like really good for the nation. But most of the things that she set out to do in the beginning were ultimately pointless. And so
Does she ever kill Snow?
no, the crowd beats him to death, or he chokes on his blood. It's implied that they don't know
Oh,
which
snap.
one happened first.
Do you guys know they put out a second or a sequel trilogy or first book of a trilogy or something?
There was like a prequel, right?
Yeah, prequel about Snow.
Huh?
I did not.
I wasn't
They
aware.
Was it-
they put it out this
Was
year.
it written by the same author?
Yeah, it's written by the same.
Now
lady.
let me tell you something, and this is a bit of a tangent, but I want to bring it up.
Uh-huh.
The author of the Hunger Games, right? Suzanne Collins.
Yeah.
She wrote another series, which I cannot recommend highly enough to you guys. It was like one of the first like big book series that I read. And this is actually how I found out about the Hunger Games. I read the Hunger Games before they were like a thing. because
before they were like a big movie.
because I was a fan of the author, right? So Suzanne Collins wrote this series called Gregor the Overlander. It's about this kid from New York City, and he basically finds this like hole in like his apartment building, and he like falls into this like underworld dimension underneath like the city, basically, right? And like he falls down there, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, like you're like gonna fulfill this prophecy." And I'm not gonna say anything else about it because it gets really crazy, and it's like it's a lot like Hunger Games in the fact that like it gets really violent. Like a lot of characters die horribly, and it's sad at
Holy
times,
smokes!
but it's like a whole big adventure too. I I I'm gonna buy you guys the first book. I'm gonna say that right now. It's
Now AJ,
yeah.
AJ.
Yes,
I would suggest not buying me the first book because I can only read a page at a time.
that's fair. So you want
So,
an audiobook?
I'll look for the audiobook.
You should. Sam,
Yeah.
I know Sam, you got me a book. You sent me a book.
True.
I'm gonna send you a book now, okay?
I can't guarantee
Because
you'll get this book back. It might end up
no,
the way
no.
the
I
Forever
don't
War
I don't
did.
have it.
Oh,
No, I don't have it. So I'm gonna send it to you that's how highly I think of it.
really? Okay. You're trying to
Because well, I think you should read it because you're a big fan of the Hunger Games, and I
True.
was too. I honestly loved the Hunger Games. I know they like have a bad rap now because they got all mainstream and whatever, and everyone has an opinion, and when stuff gets big like that, it gets like kind of like watered down. Like it doesn't matter if you like it or not because like it's just like this big mainstream thing, you know.
Yeah.
But like ultimately, yeah, I really liked the Hunger Games when I read them. They were great. And I think you would really like this series too. I actually might go back and read it myself just because I must have read it, dude, when I was like probably like 12 or 13.
Oh snap!
Yeah, dude, I read it like a long time. This was even before she wrote the Hunger Games. So like,
Can I give you guys a book suggestion?
of course, Max.
Have you guys heard of my favorite books? I like this more than I like Percy Jackson and more than I like the Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire.
Oof, that's saying
Okay.
something.
That's saying something because I love both of those books. Wild Cards.
Oh, that's the
It
other.
is- It is a book about literally George R. R. Martin and his buddies, his writing buddies, played a tabletop RPG that they were superheroes. And they continued this game for like years and years and years until they were like, hey, let's try to make a book out of this. So what they did was they have all these amazing authors that write short stories within this universe, and they all lay on top of each other, and you go from character's perspective continuously over the years, and it just makes this beautiful book. And there's like 1,000 books in the series, and I read the first two or listened to the first two on audio. They are just beautiful. The concept is in the 1940s, an alien bomb gets dropped on this New York City, and it releases the wild card virus, which is essentially a virus to see if they can build like super soldiers. Essentially, the aliens are trying to make these obedient super soldiers and seeing if this would work. It kills 90% of the population. I think it's like 10% of people don't get affected. Like the 10% that survive don't get affected. And then 1% of the people either draw an ace or a joker. And a joker, means you like get deformed and you like have all these disformalities, or you get an ace where you have this amazing power. And it is incredible. All the characters are really cool, except for Fortunato. If you guys ever read it, Fortunato is not a cool character.
No.
No. He is really creepy.
Oh no.
Really cool name. Kind of really creepy power.
No.
You can really tell it was written by George R. R. Martin,
Oh.
or it was edited at least by George R. R. Martin.
Should I ask?
But it
why?
is. I'm just gonna let you guys read it because I don't even want to talk about it.
Just leave it where it is.
It literally, when I was listening to the chapter, because I started listening to him over quarantine. When I listened to Fortunato's chapter, I was like, I'm not going to be able to get through this. I'm not going to be able to get through this. And I got to the end, and I was like, I'm going to throw up. And I don't think a book has ever made me go, I'm going to throw up.
Jeez.
It is a wild, wild ride of emotions. You guys got to read it.
All right. Dude, one last note on books. I currently have a stack of books sitting on my nightstand. It is so bad, dude. I have made the mistake of like starting several books without finishing one.
Oh,
Don't ever do that. I have never done that before in my life. Dude, back in the day, I was a monstrous reader. I used to tear through books as like as a young teen into like my late teens. I read so many series, and I was an absolute machine. I'll say that. And now here I am, just like a mess. I'm all over the place.
You just gotta give up on half of those books, or almost all those books, and just pick one. And you say, I'm gonna read this one all the way through.
I know. God damn it.
You got to.
I know. I just
What,
get
what books? What books do you have on there?
So right now I have Dune 5. I have a Douglas Adams book from our old book club that we never finished. So I'm like halfway through it. Luckily, that's an easy read. I just stopped reading it after we stopped like having the book club do stuff. I have another book written by like some Harvard professor that I'm like partway through.
Ditch that one.
I have A Confederacy of Dunces, which is like a book I started like maybe 4 years ago and just never finished, and I've been carrying it around with me. Yeah,
Ditch that one.
I've been meaning to. I still have the bookmark in it though, and every time I see the bookmark, I'm like, I should just finish it. And this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna end up like buying another book, and I'm just gonna add it to the pile, man.
Don't buy another book until you finish that pile.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam. What do you think? What do we taking? What are we throwing away?
Oh.
I'm thinking Dune, right?
I can't ditch Dune. I think what I'm gonna do.
I'm saying like we keep Dune. That's the one you finish.
I'm currently reading Dune. Like that's the book I most recently read. So I'm gonna power through it. It's thick though. It's like a dense book. So yeah, I'm gonna have to just power
once you finish
through
that one, you can go on to the easy read.
That's true. Maybe I should table Douglas Adams.
What do you think, Sam?
I mean, I'm really not that familiar with all of them.
Well, Dune had didn't it have Francis Bacon in it, or Kevin Bacon, or whoever the guy is? You can relate to everybody.
What?
Who?
Wasn't that a movie, Dune, with the worm that was like? Isn't that the same book? I'm not crazy, dude. There's definitely a movie called Dune where there's this giant worm that's attacking Kevin Bacon.
I don't know what
You're
talking
on the
about, dude.
you're on the right track, but what does it have to do with Kevin Bacon?
Kevin Bacon is the character in the movie. Is the person in the movie?
No, he ain't.
Dude, there's definitely a book with there's a movie with Kevin Bacon where he's getting chased by a giant fucking worm.
You're thinking the guy from Twin Peaks.
I don't know who Twin Peaks is.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, AJ, who is Twin Peaks?
No, yeah,
I just looked it up. Oh, it's Tremors. It's not Doom.
Trevor, I think that was inspired by Doom. Dude. It's got the worms.
Movie,
it's got the worms.
Yeah, it's got the worms.
Oh
it's got the
God,
desert. It's pretty
awesome.
much the same movie. It's got the spice. I'm pretty sure the spice is somewhere in the film.
The spice.
Dude, I was close.
Max, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you the Kwisatz Haderach?
Yes.
Interesting.
I'm very interested.
I don't know what that means, but
do you call yourself Shai Hulud?
I call myself actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Max, I'm about to hit you with the Gom Jabbar, dude.
Yo, get the Gom Jabbar.
All right, it's time for our ending segment, I think. Right. We're going too far off the rails. As you guys know, we always say something we've learned and we go through the alphabet on first names, but we do it in an opposite way because it's Sam instead of the actual alphabet. Sam, how about you start us off?
All right, so today I learned this every time you talk about your living experience with the caveman. I learned your caveman experience was deeper than I believed before, and it keeps getting deeper every time we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is really deep. I added 2 stories while we were talking because I remembered them when AJ
Oh.
started talking about his
It's a
roommate.
gold mine that just never runs dry.
It's gonna be a long chug, boys. AJ, what did you learn today?
I learned that Sam is a big Hunger Games fan. I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right.
What I learned today, video games are bad, and I'm going to stick to it. Screw my manager. Gamers' lives do not matter. Thank you. Have a good night.
Gamers, don't take that as fact, please.
Gamers do matter. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is the new end of the podcast. Thanks. Bye.